Title: The Great Debate. Is Sunday or Saturday the biblical Sabbath? Q&A 1 to 25. Question and answer section. Questions 1 to 25. 1. Pastor John: Didn't Jesus rise on Sunday, making it the new day of worship? Father Michael: Jesus rose on Sunday, but nowhere in Scripture does it say the Sabbath was changed because of the resurrection. 2. Pastor John: Doesn't Acts 27 prove that the disciples gathered on Sunday for worship? Father Michael: This was a farewell meeting that took place on Saturday night, not a formal Sunday worship service. 3. Pastor John: Isn't Revelation 1:10 proof that Sunday is the Lord's Day? Father Michael: The Bible never defines the Lord's Day as Sunday. Isaiah 58:13 declares the Sabbath as the Lord's Day. 4. Pastor John: Didn't Paul say in Romans 14:5 that every person should be convinced about which day to observe? Father Michael: Paul was discussing personal fast days, not the Sabbath. 5. Pastor John: Doesn't Colossians 2:16-17 prove that the Sabbath is no longer binding? Father Michael: That passage refers to ceremonial Sabbaths, not the weekly Sabbath of the 10 Commandments. 6. Pastor John: Didn't Jesus work on the Sabbath? Father Michael: Jesus healed and did good on the Sabbath, but he never broke the Sabbath commandment. 7. Pastor John: Didn't Jesus give the apostles authority to make changes? Father Michael: Jesus gave authority to teach, not to change God's law. 8. Pastor John: Didn't Jesus' resurrection establish a new covenant Sabbath? Father Michael: The new covenant is about God's law being written on hearts, not changing the Sabbath. 9. Pastor John: Doesn't Hebrews 4:9-10 say that Jesus is our Sabbath rest? Father Michael: Hebrews affirms that a Sabbath rest remains, not that it was abolished. 10. Pastor John: Doesn't Mark 2:27-28 mean that the Sabbath is no longer necessary? Father Michael: No, it means the Sabbath is a blessing for all humanity, not just for the Jews. 11. Pastor John: Didn't Paul teach that we are not under the law but under grace? Father Michael: Being under grace doesn't cancel God's law. Paul also said, Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Romans 3:31. 12. Pastor John: Doesn't Jesus fulfill the law, meaning we don't need to keep the Sabbath? Father Michael: Fulfilling the law means completing its purpose, not abolishing it. 13. Pastor John: Didn't early Christians keep Sunday? Father Michael: Historically, early Christians observed the Sabbath until the Catholic Church changed it. 14. Pastor John: Isn't Sunday called the Christian Sabbath? Father Michael: Nowhere in the Bible is Sunday called the Sabbath. 15. Pastor John: Didn't the Catholic Church confirm Sunday as the day of worship? Father Michael: Yes, but it admits it did so by its own authority, not by biblical mandate. 16. Pastor John: If the Sabbath is so important, why isn't it emphasized in the New Testament? Father Michael: Because it was already understood and followed. 17. Pastor John: Isn't keeping the Sabbath a Jewish practice? Father Michael: The Sabbath was instituted at creation before there were Jews. 18. Pastor John: Didn't Jesus give a new commandment to love, replacing the old law? Father Michael: Jesus said love fulfills the law, not abolishes it. 19. Pastor John: Didn't Paul say we should not be judged regarding Sabbaths? Father Michael: That passage refers to ceremonial laws, not the 10 Commandments. 20. Pastor John: Isn't the Sabbath just about rest, not a specific day. Father Michael. God sanctified the seventh day, not just any day. 21. Pastor John. Can't we worship on any day? Father Michael. You can worship any day, but only one day was set apart by God. 22. Pastor John. If Sunday worship is wrong, why do most Christians observe it? Father Michael. Because tradition, not scripture, led to the change. 23. Pastor John. Didn't Constantine simply confirm what Christians were already practicing? Father Michael. No, his decree enforced a change that lacked biblical support. 24. Pastor John. Why do Protestants follow a Catholic tradition? Father Michael. They reject Catholic authority, yet follow its decision on Sunday worship. 25. Pastor John. Didn't Luther and Calvin keep Sunday? Father Michael. Yes, but they admitted it had no biblical basis. Final challenge. To all Protestant pastors, skeptics, and non-believers, find one verse where God, Jesus, or the apostles commanded Sunday worship. If you can, I will arrange for you to receive $19 million. You will not find it, because it does not exist. The Bible is clear. Saturday is the Sabbath, and Sunday worship is a man-made tradition. Obey God, not human tradition. Not human.